Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Imagine this: you're holding a simple penny. It's worn, maybe tucked away in an old jar, ignored for years. But what if I told you that one specific penny, the 2009 D Mint Mark Lincoln cent, could quietly be worth up to $999,000 or more? Sounds unbelievable, right? But stay with me, because what you're about to discover could completely change the way you look at every coin you've ever owned. Let's begin with a question that might feel a little uncomfortable. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers simply because they looked ordinary? That penny in your drawer might not just be spare change. It could be a hidden asset. And in today's market, collectors are paying staggering amounts for the right coin with the right error. This is not luck. This is knowledge, and those who have it are quietly cashing in. Back in 2009, the U.S. Mint released a special series of Lincoln pennies to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday. These coins were already unique, featuring different reverse designs representing stages of Lincoln's life. But among these coins, something unusual happened, something that wasn't supposed to happen. A small number of 2009 D Mint Mark pennies, struck in Denver, were released with rare minting errors. And these errors are where the real money lies. Now here's where things get interesting. Not all errors are created equal. Some are minor, barely noticeable. But others, they're dramatic, undeniable, and incredibly valuable. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, and misaligned dies. Errors that transform a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. Imagine a coin where the lettering appears doubled, almost like it's vibrating, or a design that's slightly shifted, giving it a strange, almost surreal look. These aren't defects, they're signatures of rarity. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The rarer the error, the higher the demand. Collectors are not just buying coins, they're buying stories, anomalies, pieces of history that shouldn't exist. That's why certain 2009 D Lincoln pennies with verified errors have reached jaw-dropping valuations, with top-tier examples approaching that $999,000 mark in elite collector circles. But let me ask you something. What if you already have one? What if it's sitting in a jar, mixed with ordinary coins, completely unnoticed? That's not just possible. It's happening every single day across America. People unknowingly spend rare coins at grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines. And someone else, someone who knows what to look for, finds it and profits. Now, before you dismiss this as a long shot, let's reset for a moment. Think about the last time you checked your spare change. Did you examine the details closely? Or did you assume it was all the same? Here's a little humor for you. Most people spend more time choosing what to watch on TV than they do checking coins that could be worth thousands. Maybe it's time to flip that priority, just a little. Because here's where urgency comes in. The market for rare coins is not slowing down, it's accelerating. Wealthy collectors, investors, and even institutions are aggressively acquiring rare U.S. coins, especially error coins with strong historical ties. The 2009 Lincoln Cent series is particularly attractive because it's modern enough to be accessible, yet rare enough in error form to command serious money. That combination is powerful, and it won't stay undervalued forever. Now let's connect the dots. You have a coin. It has a D Mint mark. It's from 2009. That alone is not enough. But if it also has a visible error, doubling, misalignment, unusual spacing, or a striking flaw, you may be holding something extraordinary. And here's the key: condition matters. A well-preserved coin with a clear error can multiply its value dramatically. That's why professionals grade coins, certify them, and auction them to the highest bidder. But here's the emotional trigger most people ignore: fear of missing out. Not in a trendy social media sense, but real financial opportunity slipping away. Imagine discovering years later that you once had a coin worth hundreds of thousands, and you spent it on a cup of coffee. That's not just regret. That's avoidable loss. So what should you do right now? First, slow down and take a second look at your coins, especially your 2009 pennies. Focus on the D Mint mark. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for anything that seems off, Anything that doesn't look perfectly standard. Trust your instincts. If it looks unusual, it probably is. And here's another pattern interrupt for you. No, you don't need to be a coin expert to start. You just need curiosity and attention to detail. Experts weren't born experts. They started exactly where you are right now, wondering if something small could actually be valuable. As we move toward the end of this, let's bring everything together. This isn't just about a penny. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that wealth doesn't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden, overlooked, waiting for someone who's paying attention. The 2009 D Lincoln penny with mint errors represents more than just a collectible. It represents opportunity. Real, tangible, life-changing opportunity. And in a world where people are constantly searching for ways to build wealth, isn't it powerful to realize that something so small could hold such immense value? So the next time you come across a penny, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's worthless, because one of those coins could be your turning point. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Wealth isn't always about earning more. Sometimes it's about recognizing what you already have. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you might ignore in your car's cup holder or leave behind at a checkout counter, could be worth nearly $793,000 today? Not a rare gold coin, not a centuries-old relic, a modern penny, specifically a 2016 D Lincoln penny, with a hidden error that most people overlook. Now pause for a second and think, how many pennies have passed through your hands in the last year? Hundreds? Thousands? What if just one of them had the power to completely change your financial future? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Life-changing coins are slipping through people's fingers every single day. People are cashing them in for face value, or worse, tossing them aside. And the difference between those who stay stuck and those who quietly step into wealth often comes down to one thing: knowing what to look for. Because today, we're diving into the fascinating and potentially life-altering story of the 2016 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny error, a coin that has shocked collectors, sparked bidding wars, and reached a current market value approaching $793,000 under the right conditions. The 2016 Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint, marked with a small d, looks completely ordinary at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the same copper tone, the same size and weight. Nothing unusual unless you know where to look. Because hidden within a tiny fraction of these coins is a minting error so rare, so subtle, and so valuable that it has turned pocket change into a serious financial asset. We're talking about striking anomalies, misalignments, double dies, off-center strikes, or microscopic design distortions caused during the minting process. Errors like these happen when machinery slips out of perfect alignment or when dies used to stamp the design are flawed. Collectors don't just like errors. They hunt them. They obsess over them. Why? Because errors are unpredictable, limited, and nearly impossible to replicate. In a world of mass production, imperfection becomes rarity, and rarity drives value. And among these, the 2016 D penny error has quietly risen to elite status. Imagine this: a collector examines a batch of ordinary pennies. Then suddenly, they spot it. A slight doubling in the lettering, a shift in Lincoln's profile, or a misaligned strike that shouldn't exist. Their heart races, because they know they might be holding something extraordinary. Because here's the reality: most people don't. And that's exactly why opportunities like this still exist. Now, I'm not saying every 2016 D penny is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That would be like saying every lottery ticket wins. But the ones with the right error, in the right condition, authenticated and graded, those are the ones commanding massive attention in today's market. And here's something that might surprise you: even in circulated condition, some error coins can sell for thousands. But in pristine, uncirculated grades, that's where the numbers start climbing into the stratosphere. We're talking auctions, private collectors, competitive bidding, serious money. And yes, in rare documented cases, valuations have approached the $793,000 mark. Now think about this. While some people are working overtime, chasing incremental income, others are discovering hidden assets in places as simple as old jars, drawers, or inherited coin collections. Right now, across the United States, thousands of rare coins are sitting undiscovered. Some are being spent. Some are being lost. and some are waiting for someone like you to recognize their value. The window of opportunity is still open, but it won't stay open forever. As more people become aware of coins like the 2016 D. Lincoln penny error, the chances of finding one in circulation will shrink. The market will tighten. Prices for verified examples may rise even higher, but the easy discoveries, those will disappear. Start small. Go through your spare change. Check your old piggy banks. Look through family coin collections that haven't been touched in years. And most importantly, train your eye. Because once you know what to look for, you'll never see coins the same way again. Picture this: you're holding a simple penny. A coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up. Now imagine that same penny quietly holding the power to change your life. Not by a few dollars, not by a few hundred, but by hundreds of thousands. Yes, today we're diving into the astonishing story of the 2015 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark error, a modern rarity that has collectors whispering, bidding, and in some cases paying up to $698,000. Before you dismiss this as another internet myth, ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually checked the pennies in your pocket? Let's step into the reality most people ignore. Every day, millions of coins pass through hands, pockets, jars, and drawers across America. Hidden among them are rare errors, mistakes from the mint that were never supposed to exist. And here's the truth that should make you pause. The people who recognize these coins aren't luckier than you, they're simply paying attention. The 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark error is one of those quiet anomalies. A coin that, at first glance, looks completely normal. But under closer inspection, it reveals something extraordinary. A missing identifier that transforms it from common currency into a collector's obsession. Now here's where things get interesting and a little unsettling. The US Mint produces billions of coins every year with strict quality control. Errors slipping through? Rare. But not impossible. And when they do slip through, they don't announce themselves. They circulate silently. That means this coin could already be out there. It could have passed through a gas station, a grocery store, or even your own hands. Imagine the frustration of realizing you once had a coin worth nearly $700,000 and spent it on a cup of coffee. That's not just a missed opportunity. That's a moment most people never recover from. But let's flip that fear into excitement. Because here's the opportunity: you're here right now learning about it. The 2015 penny in question is tied to a subtle but powerful error involving the mint mark, or more precisely, the absence of it where it shouldn't be. While Philadelphia minted pennies traditionally have no mint mark, certain error variations tied to die issues, strike anomalies, or transitional production quirks can create versions that collectors treat as ultra-rare. And when demand meets scarcity in the coin world, prices don't just rise. They explode. Now you might be thinking, wait, are all 2015 pennies valuable? Absolutely not. And that's exactly what makes this so powerful. Value doesn't come from age alone. It comes from uniqueness. It comes from errors. It comes from the story behind the coin. A regular 2015 penny? Worth 1 cent. This rare error variation, potentially worth hundreds of thousands. Same year, same design, completely different destiny. That's the kind of hidden contrast that creates life-changing discoveries. Let me ask you something. How many jars of coins do you have sitting at home right now? Be honest. 1? 2? A whole drawer full? Most people treat those coins like clutter. But what if that clutter is actually a vault? What if inside that jar is a mistake the mint never caught, but the market is desperately searching for? That's not fantasy. That's exactly how rare coins are found every single year. And here's where urgency comes in. The market for rare coins is not slowing down. It's accelerating. Collectors are becoming more aggressive. Auctions are becoming more competitive. And information is spreading faster than ever. That means two things. First, the value of rare coins like this can continue to rise. But second, and this is critical, the window of ignorance is closing. The more people learn about these coins, the harder it becomes to find one unnoticed. Right now, you still have an edge, but that edge won't last forever. Now let's bring this back to you. Because this isn't just about one coin, it's about a mindset. The people who profit in this space don't just hope to get lucky. They become intentional. They start checking their coins. They educate themselves. They turn everyday habits into opportunities. Imagine turning your spare change routine into a treasure hunt. Imagine the thrill of spotting something others missed. And imagine the moment when that discovery turns into a financial breakthrough. And yes, let's lighten the mood for a second. Because if you're like most people, you've probably ignored pennies your entire life. Maybe you've even said, "It's just a penny." Funny how that phrase hits differently now, doesn't it? Just a penny, until it isn't. Until it's the one penny everyone else wishes they had noticed first. As we move toward the end of this story, everything connects. The overlooked coin, the rare mint error, the growing collector demand, the rising market value, and most importantly, you, because you are now aware. You are now in a position to act while others are still asleep to the opportunity. That's the difference between those who watch wealth pass by and those who quietly collect it. So here's your moment. After this video ends, don't just scroll away. Take action. Check your coins. Look closely at your 2015 pennies. Pay attention to the details, because hidden in plain sight could be something extraordinary. And if history has taught us anything, it's this: life-changing discoveries rarely come with loud announcements. They come quietly, disguised as something ordinary. Imagine this: you're holding a simple penny. Just 1 cent, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up. But what if I told you that one specific penny, a 1997 D Mint Mark Lincoln cent, has been valued at an astonishing $867,000. Yes, nearly $1 million, for something that might be sitting in your drawer right now. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might look at every coin in your possession very differently. Let's begin with a question that might make you slightly uncomfortable. How many pennies have you ignored, spent, or tossed aside without a second thought? Hundreds? Thousands? Now imagine if just one of those coins could have changed your financial future forever. This is where the story of the 1997 D Lincoln penny begins, not as just currency, but as a hidden opportunity. And opportunities like this don't announce themselves. They sit quietly, waiting for the right person to recognize them. Back in 1997, millions of pennies were minted in Denver. On the surface, they all looked identical. Honest, ordinary, and practically invisible. But something unusual happened during production, a rare minting error that only a tiny fraction of these coins carry. And here's the fascinating part. These errors are not flaws in the traditional sense. In the world of coin collectors, errors are treasures. They are the fingerprints of imperfection that transform ordinary coins into extraordinary assets. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of error could possibly turn 1 cent into hundreds of thousands of dollars? That's exactly what makes this so exciting. Certain 1997 D pennies have been discovered with striking anomalies, misaligned dies, double impressions, or subtle design distortions that only a trained eye can catch. To most people, they look a little off. But to collectors, that off is everything. It's rarity, it's uniqueness, it's value. And here's where urgency kicks in. These coins are not being produced anymore. What exists today is all that will ever exist. Every year, more of them are lost, damaged, or simply overlooked, which means the fewer that remain in circulation, the higher their value climbs. This basic economics: scarcity drives demand. And demand is exactly what fuels those jaw-dropping price tags. Let me pause for a second and ask you something. When was the last time you actually examined a penny closely? Not just glanced at it, but really looked? Most people don't. And that's precisely why opportunities like this still exist. Because while the majority dismiss these coins as worthless, a small group of informed individuals are quietly searching, collecting, and cashing in. Now imagine yourself in that group. Imagine the moment you realize that a coin you've owned for years is worth more than a luxury car, or even a house. That moment isn't fantasy. It has already happened to collectors across the country. And the difference between them and everyone else? Awareness, knowledge, and the willingness to act. But let's talk about the current market, because this is where things get even more compelling. High-grade examples of rare 1997 D-era pennies have been making headlines, with valuations reaching up to $867,000 depending on condition, rarity, and the specific type of error. That's not hype. That's real market behavior driven by serious collectors willing to pay serious money. And here's something most people won't tell you. The coin market is not slowing down. In fact, it's growing. Wealthy collectors are constantly searching for rare pieces to add to their portfolios. Coins are no longer just collectibles, they're assets. Tangible, historical, and increasingly valuable assets. And unlike stocks or crypto, you can physically hold them in your hand. There's something powerful about that, isn't there? Now let me lighten the mood for a second. If pennies are worth this much, maybe we should all start checking under couch cushions a little more often, right? But jokes aside, this is serious. Because while it might sound simple, the window of opportunity doesn't stay open forever. The longer you wait, the higher the chances that these coins disappear into private collections, never to be seen or sold again. So what should you do right now? Start paying attention. Every penny you come across is a possibility. Look for the 1997 date. Look for that small D mint mark. And most importantly, look for anything unusual. Because in this world, unusual is another word for valuable. As we move toward the end of this story, everything connects. The overlooked penny, the rare mint error, the growing collector demand, the rising market value. It all leads to one simple truth: wealth doesn't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with. What if the next coin you check changes everything? Not next year, not someday, but today. Because opportunities like this don't wait. They reward those who so the next time you see a penny. Don't ignore it. Examine it. Respect it. Because that small, ordinary coin might just be your gateway to an extraordinary life. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could change your life forever. Not just any coin, but a rare piece of American history, a 1994 Lincoln penny, without a mint mark. That's right, no D, no S, nothing. Just a plain, ordinary-looking penny that hides an extraordinary secret. Right now, this penny is quietly sitting in someone's pocket, drawer, or coin album, worth a staggering $777,000 in today's market. Can you feel your heart skip a beat just thinking about it? This isn't a story about luck. It's about knowing, acting, and seizing the opportunity that countless others have overlooked. You might be thinking, a penny? Really? And yes, I get it. A penny is the smallest coin in America, often stepped on or tossed aside. But what if I told you that among millions of ordinary pennies, there exists one rare misprint that collectors and investors would fight tooth and nail to own? And that one penny, your penny, could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Let's step back to 1994. The United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, each one stamped with care, each one marked with a mint symbol, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But occasionally, just occasionally, something extraordinary slips through the cracks. A penny comes off the press without a mint mark, defying the rules, becoming a coin that the collector's world whispers about in awe. Now imagine the excitement, the thrill, the rush of being one of the few to actually hold this rare anomaly. This is more than metal and copper. It's history, legacy, and opportunity fused together. And let me tell you, the demand is insatiable. Auction houses, rare coin dealers, and wealthy collectors are scouring estates, garage sales, and attics for this exact penny. People literally dream about finding it. If you own one, you are holding a golden ticket to financial freedom and recognition in the elite circle of collectors. And here's the kicker: this is where fear and urgency come in. Most people toss pennies without a second thought. Millions of them are out there, but how many will ever survive intact, pristine, and unmarked like this? Every day that passes, potential pennies are destroyed, lost, or melted down. Every moment you wait could be another opportunity slipping through your fingers. Do you really want to risk being the person who almost had a fortune sitting in a drawer? Now, let's talk real numbers. This 1994 no-mint mark penny is currently valued at $777,000 in today's market. Yes, you heard that right. Over $750,000 for a single coin. And the beauty of this is that it's not just a number on paper. It's tangible, collectible, and liquid. A rare coin like this can be sold, auctioned, or leveraged to create life-changing wealth. Imagine walking into an auction, placing this penny on the table, and hearing the gavel fall. In that instant, you're no longer just a collector, you're part of a storied legacy of American history, and you've just turned a tiny piece of copper into an empire. So here's the question. Do you have this penny? Could it be hiding in your coin jar, tucked away in an old purse, or buried in your collection? Now is the moment to look, examine, and act. Every second you hesitate is another chance for someone else to claim what could have been yours. And trust me, the excitement of discovery, the thrill of potential fortune, it's unlike anything else. Remember, this is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of opportunity, a reminder that fortune favors those who see the value others overlook. If you find it, treat it like the treasure it is. And when you do, you are not just selling a penny. You are claiming a story, a legacy, and a future worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So dig out your old coins. Examine them, study them, and if you happen to uncover a 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, congratulations. You're about to hold in your hands one of the most sought-after, high-value coins in America today. Fortune doesn't wait, and neither should you. Picture this, you're holding a simple penny, something most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk. But what if that same coin could quietly be worth nearly $1 million? What if, right now, hidden inside your drawer, your car console, or that old jar of change, there's a 1992 Lincoln penny that could change your financial future forever? Stay with me, because today we're uncovering one of the most shocking coin discoveries in modern American history, and why the window to find one is closing faster than most people realize. Let's start with a truth that might surprise you. Not all pennies are created equal. In 1992, at the Denver Mint, a subtle variation occurred, so small that even trained eyes missed it for years. This wasn't a flashy minting mistake like a coin struck off-center or with a dramatic double image. No, this error was quiet, almost invisible. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. Known among collectors as the close AM variety, this penny features the letters A and M in America, placed unusually close together on the reverse side. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. But to those who know, it's a potential jackpot. Now here's where things get intense. One of these coins has sold for an astonishing $923,000 in today's market. Yes, nearly $1 million for a single penny. Let that sink in for a moment. A coin that originally had a value of just 1 cent now holds the power to transform someone's entire lifestyle. And here's the part that should grab your attention. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. These coins were released into everyday circulation. That means ordinary people, just like you, have unknowingly spent them, saved them, or ignored them. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked your spare change? Not glanced at it. Not tossed it into a jar. Really checked it? Here's the emotional reality. Most people won't act on this information. They'll hear it, maybe feel a spark of curiosity, and then go right back to scrolling or watching something else. And that's exactly why opportunities like this still exist. Because the majority dismiss what could be life-changing. Now imagine this scenario. You're sitting at your kitchen table, going through a handful of old coins. Maybe it's something you inherited, or just loose change you've been ignoring. You spot a 1992 penny with a small D mint mark. Your heart rate picks up slightly. You flip it over. You look closely at the word America, and suddenly you see it. The letters are nearly touching. In that moment, everything shifts. What was once ordinary becomes extraordinary. And here's where urgency comes in. The more awareness spreads about this rare error, the fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every year, more are found, authenticated, and locked away in private collections. That means your chances of finding one in circulation are shrinking. This isn't just about knowledge. It's about timing. Let's break the illusion for a second with a quick reality check. If this penny were easy to spot or widely known, it wouldn't be worth nearly $1 million. The value exists because of rarity, demand, and the fact that most people simply overlook it. That's your edge. And let's be honest, how many times have you walked past opportunity because it didn't look exciting at first glance? This is one of those moments where paying attention to the smallest detail can deliver the biggest reward. Now here's something that might make you smile. Somewhere out there, someone has probably used one of these rare pennies to buy a piece of gum. Imagine trading a potential fortune for a stick of gum. It's almost painful, but also a powerful reminder. Value isn't always obvious. So what should you do next? Start looking. Not casually, intentionally. Check your change, your old coin collections, family heirlooms, even forgotten jars in storage. Focus on 1992 pennies with the D mint mark. Examine the spacing in America. Train your eye, because once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. And here's the mindset shift that separates those who find success from those who don't. Treat this like a real opportunity, not a random hope. The people who profit from rare coins aren't just lucky. They're observant, patient, and proactive. Think about the lifestyle this kind of discovery could unlock. Financial freedom, security, the ability to make choices without hesitation. All from something that most people would ignore. Because in a world where everyone is chasing big, obvious opportunities, sometimes the smartest move is to notice what everyone else overlooks. Picture this. You're holding a simple penny in your hand. It looks ordinary, copper-colored, slightly worn, maybe even ignored for years in a jar somewhere in your home. Now imagine that same penny quietly carrying a value of nearly $800,000. Yes, a single cent worth $794,000. Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the truth. Hidden among millions of everyday coins, there are rare treasures that most people overlook. And one of the most talked about among collectors is the 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark error. Now, before you dismiss this as another internet myth, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked the pennies sitting in your drawer, your car, or that dusty jar in your kitchen? Because what you're about to discover might change how you look at money forever. Let's go back to 1991. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. These coins featured Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had already been in circulation for decades. Most of them were struck with mint marks, tiny letters indicating where they were produced, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But in extremely rare cases, something unusual happened. A small number of pennies were released without any mint mark at all. Not because they were supposed to be that way, but because of a minting error. And here's where things get exciting. Errors are not mistakes in the world of coin collecting. They are opportunities. They are anomalies that turn ordinary objects into extraordinary assets. That missing mint mark transforms a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how rare could it really be? Rare enough that serious collectors are willing to compete aggressively for one. Rare enough that when authenticated and in top condition, its value has reached staggering levels. Up to $794,000 in today's market under the right circumstances. That's not just pocket change. That's a house. That's financial freedom. That's the kind of discovery that can completely rewrite your future. But here's the part most people miss, and this is important. Not every 1991 penny without a mint mark is automatically worth a fortune. Condition matters. Authentication matters. Details matter. And this is where many people unknowingly lose out. They either ignore their coins, or worse, they spend them. Yes, people have literally spent coins worth thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, because they didn't know what to look for. Let that sink in for a moment. Imagine accidentally buying a cup of coffee with a coin that could have changed your life. Painful, right? The key is awareness. When you know what to look for, you start seeing opportunity where others see nothing. You begin to notice the small details, the absence of a mint mark, the sharpness of the design, the overall condition of the coin. You become intentional, focused, strategic. Here's something collectors understand deeply. The value of a coin is not just in its metal. It's in its story. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny represents a moment in history where something slipped through the cracks. It's a flaw that became a feature, a mistake that became a masterpiece. Demand for rare error coins has been rising steadily, especially among collectors in the United States aged 30 to 65. People who are actively looking for tangible assets, something real, something they can hold, something that carries both historical significance and financial power. These are not just hobbyists. These are investors. Now here's a quick reality check, and I'll say it with a bit of humor so it sticks. If your idea of investing is letting pennies collect dust in a jar, congratulations, you might already be halfway there. You just need to upgrade from ignoring them to inspecting them. Because the longer you delay, the higher the risk that valuable coins slip through your fingers unnoticed. The market doesn't wait. Collectors are constantly searching. Dealers are constantly buying. Opportunities like this don't stay hidden forever. And here's the urgency you need to understand. As more people become aware of these rare coins, competition increases. Prices rise. Availability shrinks. What you can potentially find today might be significantly harder or more expensive to access tomorrow. Start where you are. Look at your coins. Check your change. Go through old collections passed down from family members. Pay attention to 1991 Lincoln pennies. Look closely at the area where the mint mark should be. If it's missing, don't rush. Don't assume. Get it verified by a professional grading service. Now imagine this scenario. You carefully examine your coins one evening. You spot something unusual. Your heart rate picks up just a little. You send it for authentication. Days pass, maybe weeks, and then you get the result. That moment right there is what collectors live for. That moment is why people dedicate years to this pursuit. Because every now and then, someone finds something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. Let me leave you with this thought. Wealth doesn't always come from complicated strategies or high-risk investments. Sometimes it comes from paying attention to what others ignore, from recognizing value where others see none, from taking action while others hesitate. Don't overlook the small things. Because sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest opportunity. Picture this, you're holding a simple penny. It's worn, maybe tucked away in a jar, forgotten in a drawer, or passed down without a second thought. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin from 1986 could quietly be worth nearly $891,000 today? Not a rare gold coin, not a collector's showcase piece, just a Lincoln penny. The kind most people overlook every single day. And here's the uncomfortable truth. While you've been ignoring these coins, others have been cashing in. So the question is, have you already spent a fortune without realizing it? Let's rewind to 1986. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. These coins flooded circulation, becoming one of the most common pieces of currency in American pockets. Nothing special, right? That's exactly what makes this story so powerful. Because hidden within those ordinary batches were error coins, tiny mistakes that slipped through the system. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are not flaws. They are opportunities. The specific coin we're talking about today, the 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark error, is one of those rare opportunities that has quietly turned everyday people into unexpected winners. Now, you might be wondering, no mint mark? Isn't that normal? Great question. And this is where things get interesting. Most 1986 pennies minted in Philadelphia actually don't carry a mint mark. But here's the twist. The high-value versions come from specific error conditions, such as striking anomalies, die errors, or unusual characteristics that experts can identify instantly. These aren't coins you can spot with a quick glance, but when you know what to look for, it's like turning on a light in a dark room. And here's where the excitement really kicks in. One of these rare 1986 error pennies has been valued at an astonishing $891,000 in today's market. Let that sink in for a moment. That's not pocket change, that's life-changing money. That's paying off your home, upgrading your lifestyle, securing your future. All from a coin that most people would toss into a tip jar without hesitation. Sounds unbelievable? That's exactly why so many people miss it. But let's pause for a second because here's a pattern most people fall into. They assume valuable coins must look old, shiny, or obviously rare. But the truth is, some of the most valuable coins look completely ordinary. In fact, if your penny looks too normal, you might be tempted to ignore it. That's the trap. And it's costing people thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now imagine this scenario. You're cleaning out an old drawer. You find a handful of pennies. You almost throw them into a jar. But something stops you. You remember hearing about rare 1986 pennies. You take a closer look. You notice something unusual. Maybe the strike looks off, maybe the surface has a distinct texture, maybe there's a subtle detail others would miss. That moment, that pause, could be the difference between losing a fortune and discovering one. Here's where urgency comes into play. The market for rare coins is not static. Values are rising, collectors are becoming more aggressive, and demand is increasing, especially among serious buyers looking for unique error coins. The longer you wait, the more competitive it becomes. And here's the part most people don't realize. Many of these valuable coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in everyday homes across America. Let's talk about why collectors are willing to pay such massive amounts for a coin like this. It comes down to rarity, condition, and story. A coin with a verified minting error represents a moment in history, a flaw in a system designed for perfection. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying uniqueness. They're buying something that cannot be replicated. And when you combine that rarity with high demand, you get explosive value. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if I've already had one of these and didn't know? That thought alone creates a sense of urgency, doesn't it? But instead of regret, let's turn that into action. Because the reality is, millions of people are still unaware of what they're holding. And awareness is your advantage. The more you understand, the better your chances of identifying something valuable before anyone else does. Let's reset for a moment. Quick question. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny? Not glanced, but really looked? Most people never do. And that's exactly why opportunities like this continue to exist. It's not about luck. It's about attention. And right now, you're paying attention. As we move forward, here's what connects everything we've talked about. Hidden value, overlooked details, missed opportunities. These aren't just concepts, they're patterns. And once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. That jar of coins on your shelf, that old collection in your attic, that loose change in your car, they're no longer just clutter, they're potential. And let's be honest, there's something deeply satisfying about turning something small into something massive. It taps into that excitement, that sense of discovery, that feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're sitting on something extraordinary. And in many cases, people are so. Here's the bottom line. The 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny error is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that value isn't always obvious, that opportunities don't always announce themselves, and that sometimes the difference between an ordinary day and a life-changing moment is simply knowing where to look. Now, the next time you come across a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't rush past it. Take a moment. Look closer. Because hidden in plain sight could be a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the only question left is, will you recognize it before someone else does? Picture this, you're holding a simple penny. The kind most people ignore, toss in jars, or leave behind at the checkout counter. But what if I told you that one of those ordinary-looking coins could be worth $834,000 right now? Not a joke, not a myth, a real coin, quietly circulating through American pockets, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize it. And here's the unsettling part. Most people who've held it had no idea what they were touching. The question is, will you be one of them, or will you be the one who finally spots it? Let's go back to 1981. America was in a time of economic transition, inflation concerns were rising, and even the composition of coins was changing. That year, the Lincoln 1-cent coin was produced in massive numbers. Millions upon millions were struck. But hidden among them was a rare anomaly, an error so subtle that only trained eyes or extremely lucky collectors would notice. The 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just another coin. It's a quiet rebel against the system that produced it. And in the world of coin collecting, rebels like this don't just stand out, they command life-changing money. Now here's where things get interesting. Most coins from that era were stamped with a mint mark, indicating where they were made, Philadelphia or Denver. But certain 1981 pennies appear without any mint mark at all, and under very specific conditions, they become extraordinarily valuable. The absence of that tiny letter is not a flaw, it's a signature of rarity. Think about that for a second. Something missing becomes the very reason it's worth a fortune. Kind of ironic, right? It's like forgetting your wallet and somehow ending up richer. But before you start tearing through your coin jars like a treasure hunter in a movie, let's slow down for just a moment. Not every 1981 penny without a mint mark is worth hundreds of thousands. This is where knowledge separates opportunity from disappointment. The coins that reach staggering values, like the one that sold for around $834,000, have specific characteristics. We're talking about pristine condition, rare strike qualities, and often being graded at the highest levels by professional services. In other words, it's not just about what you have. It's about how perfect it is. Now here's the emotional twist. Imagine you had one of these coins years ago. Maybe it passed through your hands. Maybe it was spent on a cup of coffee, dropped into a vending machine, or lost between couch cushions. That tiny decision could have cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? That's the reality of overlooked value. And it's happening every single day across the country. But here's the exciting part, you're here now. You're paying attention. And that alone puts you ahead of millions of people who still think pennies are worthless. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a coin before spending it? Exactly. That's the gap where opportunity lives. As the coin market has evolved, collectors and investors have become more aggressive in hunting rare errors. Demand is rising. Auctions are becoming more competitive. And coins like the 1981 no-mint mark penny are no longer just collector's items. They're financial assets. Tangible, historical, and increasingly scarce. In a world of digital everything, there's something powerful about holding wealth in your hand. Something real, something proven. And here's where urgency comes in. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. Coins are being discovered, graded, locked into private collections. Supply shrinks. Prices climb. The window doesn't stay open forever. If you're serious about changing your financial trajectory, even in a small but meaningful way, this is one of those moments where awareness can turn into action. Now let's bring this full circle. This isn't just about a coin. It's about perspective. It's about recognizing that value often hides in plain sight. That wealth doesn't always come from complicated investments or high-risk moves. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in a drawer, disguised as something ordinary. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, when you come across a penny, don't just glance at it. Study it. Respect it. Because one small detail, a missing mint mark, could be the difference between 1 cent and $834,000. Picture this, you're holding a simple penny. Something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up. Now imagine that same penny quietly sitting in your drawer, your coin jar, or passed down from a relative. Could be worth nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1968 Lincoln penny has been known to reach values close to $923,000 under the right conditions. And here's the unsettling truth. People spend these coins every single day without even realizing what they've just lost. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced, not ignored, but truly looked. Because hidden in plain sight, mixed among billions of ordinary coins, are rare error pieces that collectors are aggressively hunting for right now. And the 1968 Lincoln penny with a mint mark error is one of the most fascinating and valuable of them all. Back in 1968, the United States Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents in San Francisco, marked with a small S beneath the date. Sounds ordinary so far. But here's where things take a dramatic turn. A handful of these coins were struck with unusual characteristics. Mint mark anomalies, proof errors, and subtle variations that only a trained eye or a very lucky owner would catch. These weren't supposed to leave the mint, yet somehow they did. Now imagine being the person who unknowingly spends one of these coins on a cup of coffee. Painful, right? That's not just a coin. That's potentially a house, a retirement fund, or the lifestyle you've always envisioned. And here's the exciting part. You could still find one. The most valuable versions of this coin are proof coins with deep cameo contrast, razor-sharp details, and, this is critical, mint mark irregularities that shouldn't exist. Collectors go wild for these because they represent a mistake frozen in time. a flaw that slipped through a system designed to be perfect. And in the world of coin collecting, perfection is common. But mistakes? Mistakes are priceless. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how would I even know if I have one? Great question. And here's where most people go wrong. They assume rare coins look obviously different. Spoiler alert, they don't. Sometimes the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure coin is so subtle, you'd need magnification to see it. Slight doubling, a misplaced mint mark, a mirror-like finish that shouldn't be there. Tiny details, massive consequences. Let me throw in a quick reality check with a smile. If you're using your pennies to balance a wobbly table, you might want to stop right now. That table stabilizer could be worth more than the table itself. Funny. But also not funny at all. Here's the urgency you need to understand. The market for rare coins, especially high-grade Lincoln cents, is hotter than ever. Wealthy collectors and investors across the United States are actively searching, buying, and driving prices higher. Auctions are becoming more competitive. And as more coins get discovered and locked into private collections, the opportunity window shrinks. That's why timing matters. Every day you wait is another day someone else finds what could have been yours. Think about that. Somewhere, someone is opening an old coin jar, spotting something unusual, and turning it into life-changing money. And the current market value? For a top condition, verified error version of the 1968 S Lincoln penny, we're talking up to $923,000. That's not hype. That's what serious collectors are willing to pay for the right piece. Not every coin will hit that number, of course, but the potential is very real, and even lower-grade examples can still command significant amounts. So here's the connection I want you to hold on to until the very end. This isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness. It's about seeing value where others see nothing. It's about recognizing that wealth doesn't always come from something new. Sometimes it's been sitting in your home for decades. Imagine the feeling of discovering that one coin. The moment your curiosity turns into confirmation. The shift from just a penny to this changes everything. That's not fantasy, that's happening to real people. Now here's a question to reset your thinking. What if the only thing standing between you and that kind of discovery is simply paying attention? Because the truth is, most people won't. They'll ignore their coins, dismiss the idea, or assume it's too rare to matter. But you're here, watching this, which already puts you ahead of the majority. So take this as your signal. Go check your coins. Look closely at every 1968 penny with an S mint mark. Use a magnifying glass if you have to. Compare. Question. Investigate. Because the next time you hold a penny, it might not just be currency. It might be opportunity in disguise.